Good evening and welcome to our UF 2020 Virtual Pre-Health Kickoff Week. We are excited to have you with us to kick off our professional presentation series. We will host a Q&A session immediately following our presentation to answer any questions you might have. Our speakers tonight include members from our UF Pre-Health Advising Team. I will let them briefly introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, my name is Meredith Beaupre. I work in the honors program. So I work very, very closely with our pre-health advisors over in liberal arts and sciences. I am specific to the honors program. So if you are an honors gator and if you are pre-health or think you might be pre-health or want to discuss whether or not you should be pre-health, then I'm here to help. I can be reached, all of our information is on our honors webpage, but I have Zoom hours for the fall. Everything for us is on Zoom. I've got express hours, walk-in hours, twice a week, and I also am happy to have appointments. And so when we are not in a pandemic, we are housed in Walker Hall, but for this semester, we're on Zoom. So if you are an honors gator who's pre-health, let me know. I'm excited to work with you.
Hi everybody, my name is Brittany Hoover and I'm also a pre-health and biology academic advisor here in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. So I just wanted to say welcome. We're really excited to have you guys here this evening. A little bit of background on me. I am a double gator, so I went to the University of Florida and obtained my bachelor's degree in anthropology. I also obtained my master's in higher education, so I really enjoy working with students and what I've been doing. A little background on my professional career. I started in UF admissions and then I've been advising for about the last 7 years. I started in Innovation Academy and then I've specifically been a pre-health and biology advisor for the last 3.5 years. So I'm really excited to work with you guys and welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick Mrozinski. I'm also a double gator. I have been an advisor here at UF for about 15 years now, although I am actually one of the newest pre-health advisors on campus, the newest one in our office, and have just assumed that role in the last spring. So look forward to working with all of you, and go Gators.
And my name is Brittany Chambeau. I am also an academic advisor and lecturer in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I have been working at UF professionally for 4 years and advise biology majors and students pursuing pre-health professions. So we're really excited to have you with us today. Bobby Knickerbocker is our pre-health curriculum coordinator and director of our UF post-bac program. And Katie Johnson is our pre-health assistant. We are hosting Zoom advising through fall semester. However, our physical office space is located in Farrier Hall, otherwise known as the Academic Advising Center. Same day remote advising is held Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. We offer a variety of services for students, such as one-on-one advising sessions, 30-minute appointments, pre-health workshops, application assistance, mock interviews for students who receive interview invitations. And we host numerous events, including the pre-health kickoff in fall, which is this, and the CAS application kickoff in spring. Be sure to check out our pre-health events calendar on our homepage for upcoming events and information sessions. Let's start off with a quick Zoom poll. Please use your phone or computer to respond to the following statements. Professional schools will not accept my AP IB scores. True, false, or maybe? A lot of students leaning towards maybe. Good. Well, you all are right on the dot. Many students enter college with AP, IB, or dual enrollment credit. However, professional schools will want to see how you perform in university-level coursework. It is important to research the schools you plan to apply to understand what they will accept and what they will not. Many professional schools will accept AP and IB credit, but most will expect that you supplement those courses with higher level coursework in the same content area. For example, if you use AP credit to fulfill general psychology, you can complete an upper division psychology course, such as abnormal psychology, to complete university level psychology requirement. If you not feel confident with the material to perform well in upper level classes or on the MCAT or the DAT, it may be wise to retake some of your AP or IB courses at the university level. This is up to you. The second statement is professional schools require a minimum of 1,500 hours of healthcare-related volunteering. So it looks like the majority of you said false. That is also dependent upon the type of professional school. So medical schools typically do not require a minimum number of clinical volunteer hours. However, other types of programs, such as physician assistant, dentistry, veterinary medicine, physical therapy, and occupational therapy often do. So it's, again, important to check with the requirements at each of the schools you plan to apply to get an understanding of what they're looking for. The next question here is, it's better to start medical or professional school right after I finish college. A little bit more of an even spread here. So this is, again, dependent upon the applicant. We like to remind students that the best time to start professional school is when you're the most competitive applicant. According to age statistics published by the Association of American Medical Colleges, otherwise known as the AAMC, the average age of medical students who matriculated at U.S. medical schools is 24 years old. It is important to gain valuable experience during your undergraduate career and in your growth years between applying to professional school and matriculation. Lastly, professional schools prefer students who completed science majors. 90% of you are correct. They do not have a preference for any particular type of major. So regardless of the major you pursue, pre-professional students will complete the same required prerequisites before applying to their professional program of choice. When choosing a major, you want to think about what subjects interest you the most or what fits into your backup plan. These statements are designed to encourage you to think outside of the box and consider all of your options when deciding what plan is best for you. Each applicant's journey to professional schools is different, so we encourage you to meet with a pre-health advisor to evaluate your progress and your plans throughout your undergraduate career and in your growth years to make sure you are a competitive applicant when you apply to professional schools. Professional schools are interested in applicants who demonstrate academic and holistic preparation. We will discuss these aspects in further detail throughout the presentation. Competitive applicants are genuinely interested and passionate about the profession they are pursuing. They are well-rounded, both in their academic preparation and in the depth of the experiences they choose to participate with. They choose to take diverse courses to teach them about cultures and values outside of their own. They make time to learn about themselves, their strengths, and what makes them unique. It is important to know about the profession, the patient-family experience, yourself, and other cultures. Your application should demonstrate a holistic view of why you are pursuing your profession of choice and the impact that you want to make on others. ExploreHealthCareers.org is a fantastic free resource to use to find information about different health careers. The site provides easy access to updated, peer-reviewed career descriptions to different health careers that suit you. Careers can be filtered by salary, education commitment, and more. Feel free to visit this site at your convenience. Reflection is an important skill to practice throughout your undergraduate and professional career. When exploring different health career paths, we encourage you to reflect on the following questions. What tasks do I envision doing with patients? Do you want to be the one performing certain procedures for patients, such as inserting catheters, GI tubes, or performing brain surgery? Or maybe you prefer assisting with pain management, more behind the scenes. Do you see yourself assisting a patient with rehabilitation after recovering from a recent surgery? What role do you want to play specifically? How long do I want to be in school or higher education? This is a big one. Are you thinking 6 to 7 years of higher education to become a physician assistant or a physical therapist? Maybe it's 6 to 8 years for professions like occupational therapy or a pharmacist. Or maybe it's 8 years plus for professions such as dentist, physician, or veterinarian. How many hours per week do I want to work? Are you looking for a 40-hour work week, maybe a 9-to-5 structure? Or are you okay with working 60 to 100 hours per week with on-call, night, and weekend shifts? What does your ideal work-life balance look like? Do I want to work under the supervision of another professional, or do I prefer to work on my own? Do you prefer to be the lead physician on a medical case, or would you prefer to work under the supervision of another professional, such as a physician assistant, a dental assistant, or a physical therapist assistant? Lastly, am I comfortable with making difficult decisions? In a life or death situation, are you able to think critically, quickly, and confidently to make a difficult decision on behalf of a patient? Can you remove your personal feelings from a medical diagnosis to help create a non-biased treatment plan? We encourage you to reflect on these topics before committing your academic and professional career to medicine or a related health career.
Hi everyone, so I'm actually going to be presenting this next section on academics, so we'll go ahead and get that started. Okay, so when we discuss academics, some of the things that we'll be covering today are going to be majors, minors, certificates, elective courses, prerequisite courses, as well as required entrance exams for the different pre-professional careers that we offer here at the University of Florida and throughout the country. So I usually like to get started with talking about majors because we get this question quite a bit. What looks better for medical schools, right? So biology, Spanish, arts, business. And honestly, the answer is that you can major in anything you're interested in. And I mean that wholeheartedly. So you all have to take the same prerequisite science courses, whether you're pursuing medicine, dentistry, vet med, PA. There's a set list of specific prerequisite science-based courses that you guys will take throughout your undergraduate career at UF. And we will actually go through those in the next couple of slides together. So when you think about a major, what you want to think about is what are you actually interested in? So when you're going to interview for professional schools in the future, or you're writing your personal statement and they ask you, why did you major in biology or animal sciences or business? You have a really genuine answer for why you chose that major or area of study. The other questions that we get quite often are, should I pursue a double major or a dual degree? And the answer to that is just the same. If you are interested in pursuing a dual degree, say in biology and Spanish, then that's great. But really you would choose to do a dual degree or double major because you're interested in getting in that specialized set of courses for both degree programs and making yourself more well-rounded. Now your major, double major, dual degree, and even minors or certificates don't necessarily make you more competitive for medical school. So you would want to base these decisions on the areas that you're genuinely interested in learning about. The next area I want to talk about is minors. So with minors at the University of Florida, a great way to discover some of the different majors, minors, or certificates that are offered are going to be by visiting catalog.ufl.edu, choosing undergraduate catalog, then programs, and under programs, it actually lists all of the 110 to 120 UF undergraduate majors, the different minors, as well as the different certificate options that are available, as well as the department contact information. So you can find that information again at catalog.ufl.edu. The other way that you can find information on majors, minors, or certificates is by logging into one.uf in your student account and running what's called a what if audit. So if you are, say, a biology major and you're interested in a health disparities minor, then you can actually run a what if audit for that and see maybe what courses you've already taken that would count towards that and what other courses you would need to take to fulfill that requirement. We're going to get into electives and prereq courses, but we'll get into that in the next couple slides. And one quick thing I wanted to mention, we will actually be holding all questions until the end. We will be having a question and answer session at the very end of this presentation for about 15 to 20 minutes. So if you do have any questions along the way, go ahead and jot those down and we will open up for questions, like I said, probably about 20 minutes till the end. All right, so when we think about pre-health prerequisite courses, the main courses that we're gonna think about are your chemistries, biologies, genetics, microanatomy and physiology, your physics, math, English, psychology, and then some other courses that are sometimes recommended. So if you look up at the top of this screen here under the prerequisite chart, you'll see medical, dental, veterinary, pharmacy, PA, PT, OT, and optometry. Those are the different professions that we advise for here in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. If you have specific questions about nursing, UF Nursing does actually like to do their own advising, so I encourage you to reach out to them. Okay, the other thing I want you guys to recognize is we'll use dentistry here as an example under dental. You can see that for Chem 2045, 2046, 2210, 2211, and BCH 4024, all have X's in the boxes next to them. And what the X's mean is that those courses are going to be required for dental school. But if you scroll down under the area that says, for example, genetics, you'll see an R in the box for dentistry. And what the R means is that it's a recommended course for dental school. So if a course is recommended by us, it's because enough dental schools across the country require it or recommend it that we recommend you take it to be the most competitive applicant for that professional school or program. This prerequisite chart is available on our pre-health website right over here at advising.ufl.edu under resources and then forms and handouts. So you can find this available anytime. A few other things I like to mention are academic course loads. So to have a competitive course load at the University of Florida, your first few semesters, we recommend keeping it between 12 to 14 credits in semester 1 and maybe even into semester 2, as well as 2 core science and math classes. Usually we have you guys starting out in some sort of math and chemistry because chemistry is the longest part of your sequence to most of these professional schools. The other thing to consider is every semester after, so after semester 2 or 3, then you would want to look at taking 15 to 18 credits with 2 core science and math classes. And to make yourself have a well-rounded schedule, besides those 2 core science and math, you would also take major courses, minor courses, electives, and anything else that you might be interested in. Gen Eds, words courses, things of that nature. All right, so these are our academic model semester plans. So as you can see here, this specific semester plan covers medicine, podiatry, chiropractic, and naturopathic medicine. And you can see in the first year, in the fall term, we actually have the student coming in and taking Intro to Chemistry, which is the Chem 1025, and Pre-Calculus, which is MAC 1147. Then moving into the spring, you can see that they move into Chem 1, Chem 2045, and Calculus, which is MAC 2311. So those are the courses we recommend you take in your first few semesters. As you're moving through the timeline, you can see down here in the 3rd year, in the summer, this gives you the timeline for when you would take your MCAT if you don't plan to take a growth year and apply after your junior year. So you would apply that junior year summer. If you decide to take a growth year, which is just fine, probably 50% of my students do, then you would take your MCAT spring of your senior year and apply that summer after your senior year. So the application timeline itself takes 15 to 18 months. So you actually apply about a year and 2 to 3 months in advance before you would attend that professional school. And again, these semester plans are available on our pre-health website, which I will show you at the end of the presentation, and that way you guys can pull them up anytime you need. All right, the next area I want to talk about is electives. So when you think about electives, we want you to spend your time wisely, right? We don't want any fluff courses. We don't want easy courses. We want courses that you're genuinely interested in. So some of the things you can think about as far as pre-health electives would be to grow in those areas or professional competencies that you feel like you need to grow in. So say you struggle with public speaking, then I would recommend maybe taking a public speaking or a professional writing or communications class at UF. What classes can you take like pre-health electives to help you learn about different healthcare related aspects, okay, or science related electives? Are you interested in learning another language, say Spanish, French, Swahili, whatever you might be interested in? Or recommended prereqs for your profession. A good example of that would be medical terminology for physician assistant studies or psychology and sociology to help you study for the MCAT in medical school. We also have a really great up-to-date pre-health electives list, which you can find on our pre-health website under pre-health resources and then forms. And we actually do keep that updated every semester. So if you're looking for some good pre-health electives, make sure you check out our pre-health electives sheet.
So Brittany was talking about the academic preparation that you're going to do as part of becoming a competitive pre-professional student. And what I'm going to cover is the holistic preparation, kind of all that other stuff that goes into being a competitive applicant. And what is that stuff? She touched on the competencies. And before we get into talking about exactly what those things are, volunteering, shadowing, all that, I wanted to talk about professional competencies for a second. These are the skill sets. This specific example is the set of competencies that the med schools sort of came together and determined that the ideal physician and thus the ideal medical student would be. And these have been kind of showed to the other professional schools. And really, this is a good broad sort of pre-healthcare professional list of competencies. You'll notice this has things on it like human behavior, understanding human behavior and how people interact, understanding living systems, things like written communication, scientific inquiry, quantitative reasoning, critical thinking, all good skills to diagnose and figure out what's going on with a patient. You've got things like capacity for improvement, resilience, reliability, and ethical responsibility. As a healthcare professional, you're going to be dealing with some very adverse situations as a student, as a med student, as a healthcare professional student, you're going to be dealing with some very tough and challenging situations, and you need to be able to bounce and recover. You have oral communication, teamwork, cultural competency, social skills, and service orientation. These are, again, as a healthcare professional, you're going to deal with a diverse set of populations. You're going to have to interact with them. You're going to have to interact with other members on your team, because we know healthcare is not a single person acting alone, but they're made up of a team. So these are the things that you need to use your holistic application to address and demonstrate that you have started experiencing these sort of skill sets and developing these sort of skill sets as you move forward in the application process. And you do that by what we call the circle of life. Over the years, as you come and speak to us and visit us, we're going to talk a lot about this. You'll notice that it has academics and entrance exams on top, but this is the circle of life that is there to sort of build the competitive application for your professional schools. Academics entrance exams. Can you go back 1 second for academics entrance exams are about 40% of it, but you also have research, shadowing, clinical experience, community service, and teamwork and leadership. And I'll talk about each of those individually. Okay. So the first one we're talking about is community service. This is the same community service you're very much used to over the years. It's going out and showing that you care about the world. Healthcare is a field about giving care to people, and the schools want you to demonstrate that. So it doesn't have to be medical related. It should be stuff that you're interested in. A consistent, meaningful experience is far more important than shadowing or than participating in an environment that you're not necessarily passionate about. It's good to have passions outside of health, believe it or not. And it's a good way to be involved in your community. And I think this is one thing I want to stress here, is that this is about your community. It's about the community you're living in. And the schools consider you a Gainesville resident when you are in Gainesville for school. And so they expect you to be serving your Gainesville community and giving back to the local community. And so some examples here, we have after school programs, we have assisted living facilities, homeless shelters. In the picture, you can see that they're actually out in the wilderness, probably doing a cleanup of something. whatever you want. This is a great way to connect with the community. It's also a great way to start networking with people in the community. And so can't stress this enough. This is the easy one. This is the one we all know. Shadowing. We kind of touched on this a little earlier. Shadowing is observing the profession you are interested in the environment that they actually act. So this is in the hospital, in the dental office, in whatever their setting is, watching them practice, observing them practice, and taking notes. For some programs, there may be a minimum. Some programs may not have a minimum, but you have to have a letter from a letter of recommendation from a professional in that field. And so you probably need to shadow in order to connect with somebody to write a letter about you. But you should do this also in different settings. So if you're, for example, interested in being a doctor, you want to make sure you're shadowing in a hospital, but you also want to make sure you're shadowing in an office, in a smaller practice, to get a wide sort of observation of what the patient-physician interaction will be. It's important to shadow different specialties. You may have a goal to be a world-famous neurosurgeon, but you also want to shadow all types of other physicians so that you know the broad range of the field and not just one specialization. Also, it's important to remember that those specializations are competitive, and so it's no guarantee that you will become the neurosurgeon. In terms of observation and confirmation, you want to make sure that you are observing. Shadowing is not just sitting in the corner paying attention to what's going on. It's really kind of examining what's going on, and taking notes, noting the patient interaction, knowing what's good with it, knowing what's bad with it. It's important to notice how the fields interact with each other. So noticing how a physician interacts with maybe a PA or a nurse. It's important to take notes. I would recommend a journal, to track your hours over the semesters, but B, also to note what you're observing. This stuff comes up later on in your personal statement. It could come up in your interview. These sort of shadowing experiences can really give you the base for talking about and understanding the field later on. Research. It's very common. A lot of students, in the sense of a lot of students talk about research. I think it's one of the things that a lot of students feel is important for getting into professional school. It should be noted it's valued, not required. This kind of goes back to that scientific inquiry piece on those competencies. It's important to understand the process and the application. Learning in an environment where you're learning by doing experiments, collecting data, analyzing that data, and coming up with solutions based on that. So it's really important to understand that more than it is to get research that's related specifically to a healthcare quote unquote field. It doesn't have to be a STEM related research. We have students who are doing research in sociology, anthropology, history, and they're still pre-med students and doing research for pre-med. Again, you want to relate research back to the professional competencies. A lot of times teamwork can come up in a research experience because you're working in an office or in a research lab or in a research environment with other people where you have to rely on each other for different types of stuff. Clinical volunteering or employment. This one is a little bit more, it says volunteering, and that's important, but it's the clinical aspect that's important here. Clinical means in that patient care setting. So with clinical volunteering, we're volunteering in the hospital, in the actual, in a practice, or we're being employed in a practice. Again, we want a consistent and constant experience. It's more important to do one thing consistently for many, many semesters versus doing, a wide collection of very shallow opportunities. It's meaningful. You want to be able to interact with patients in that patient setting. That's important because patients, for example, if you're volunteering with, handicapped children in a community environment, maybe at a camp, that's a very different setting than volunteering in an actual hospital where they are patients, and understanding and being able to work with them from that somewhat powerless position of being a patient. You want to have, so it has to have contact with patients. You want a meaningful experience. Brittany mentioned it before. There are some fields that actually have a required amount of clinical volunteering. PA has a pretty substantial volunteering requirement for the most part. A lot of times, this is tough to get as a student. It's not impossible, but especially if you're doing a program like PA, you almost have to plan on a growth year to really get that 1,000, 2,000 hours of clinical volunteering that makes you competitive for those programs. This is sort of broadly towards, this slide is slightly directed towards humans, but we have to keep in mind that our vet students need small animal, exotic animal, and large animal experience to be competitive for those programs. Leadership, this is the one that's really familiar to all of us. We have employment, student organizations, being a TA, ambassador programs. These are the stuff that you do already. So this is going out and being part of a student organization. And I usually recommend at least two. One that's somewhat professionally related, but one that's also just for fun, something you enjoy doing. You'd be surprised that you can connect with a lot of students in something like an intramural team, where they may not be pre-health students, but they may be related or connected to people who are actually in the healthcare system. And that means that that's a good networking opportunity that you can develop into a shadowing opportunity later on. So it's always good to kind of balance it, one professional, one non-professional. We don't want to overlook employment. Just general jobs are very important at demonstrating some of those competencies that we talked about: teamwork, reliability, ability to handle adverse situations, resilience. All of those things you can demonstrate working for the help desk at UF. So don't ever overlook employment as an important part of something you can do to prepare yourself down the road for a professional school.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump back in here and talk quickly about professionalism. So when you think about professionalism, this is a concept that we do like to introduce early to you guys, because we do feel like it's really that important to start kind of ingraining that in you guys right now. So when you think about professionalism, anything from email, social media, communications, so with schools, professors, your peers, any patients you might be working with, employment supervisors, you want to make sure that you're putting your best self forward. So in all communications, you want to make sure you're keeping it professional. A great example of this would be, instead of, "Yo, Brittany, can you help me get into this class?" It would be, "Good afternoon, Advisor Hoover or Mrs. Hoover. I have a few quick questions. How can we meet for advising?" So just taking that extra step to make sure that you're maintaining professionalism in all forms of communication early on. The other way is going to be to demonstrate it. So when you think about those professional competencies that we've been talking about throughout the presentation today, the reason why they're so important is because those activities that you're working in now, whether it's physician shadowing, community service, employment, working in a research lab, or making that relationship with an academic professor, you're going to be asking them for letters of recommendation in the future. So you're going to want to make sure that they can talk about all of those different professional competencies in that circle in your letters of recommendation. So as many of them as they can cover. If you are working part-time at Publix, for example, are you reliable? Are you responsible? Do you have great communication and customer service skills? Are you trainable? Are you a leader? Are you someone who kind of takes it a step further when maybe you don't have to, okay? So thinking about ways that you can maintain professionalism now throughout school, as well as demonstrate it through those activities in the future, okay, guys? All right, here's a few reasons it's great to be a pre-health Gator at UF. We have a large and diverse pre-health community at the University of Florida. Last year, we had about 3,400 applications to professional schools around the country for medicine, dentistry, PA, PT, OT, pharmacy, and vet med. So we definitely have a very large and diverse pre-health related community. We have a ton of student organization and involvement activities for you guys to get involved in. So if you haven't yet, my homework to you after this presentation is going to be to go on over to the Student Activities and Involvement website and create what's called your Gator Connect account, and go ahead and start looking at some of those pre-health related clubs and organizations, as well as maybe a club or organization that you're interested in joining for your interests. There's rigorous courses taught by top professors. So when students are applying to professional schools from the University of Florida, they have no doubt that the students' courses that they've taken have made them not only well prepared for those entrance exams that they'll take, but it also makes them well prepared for their professional school journey in the future. Research opportunities through the University of Florida are very abundant. So we actually have a center on campus that's called the Center for Undergraduate Research. They have ambassadors that can help you with the process of obtaining research. A few other places we usually recommend looking for research would be through the UF College of Medicine, UF College of Dentistry, maybe through your major or department, or a minor you're interested in. Just like Nick mentioned, I've had students who have done research in healthcare disparities. So it just kind of depends on what area of research you're interested in. The volunteer opportunities as well are very abundant. So your first semester at UF, whether you're an incoming freshman or a transfer student, I really challenge you guys to find a few ways to get involved. Even with COVID, there's still going to be community service volunteering opportunities. You can do informational interviews with pre-health professionals. You can maybe shadow through telehealth. You can join a club or organization. So really what professional schools are going to be looking at right now, even with COVID, is for students who've found ways to be creative and stay involved throughout their time. The other thing you guys have is us, myself, Nick Mrozinski, Brittany Chambeau, and Meredith Beaupre, as well as Bobby Knickerbocker. We are here to help teach you guys along the way, prepare your applications, and just make you the most well-rounded and prepared applicants for pre-health professional schools. All right, so I know we've referenced this a couple times today. If you guys haven't yet, click on this website or go ahead and copy and paste it into your browser. Everything we've talked about today, from the prereq chart to the model semester plans, the pre-health resources, whether that's clinical volunteering, shadowing, research, as well as the presentations from this week will be uploaded next week, are available on our pre-health website. So if you haven't yet, check out our pre-health website. It also has our most up-to-date Zoom advising information and any events that we'll be hosting throughout the semester. All right, and finally, a couple of the pre-health resources we have available for you guys. The Pre-Health Essentials course is a free, non-graded Canvas course that's available for you guys to join on our pre-health website. If you log on to the pre-health website and look at the left-hand menu, underneath that drop-down menu on the left-hand side, you'll see some boxes. It's actually, I believe it's an orange or blue box that says Pre-Health Essentials, but you can join that there. Some of the great examples there are career exploration. So say you want to find out what's the difference between allopathic and osteopathic medicine, or what are some international opportunities to get involved for pre-health students. You can find that information in Pre-Health Essentials anytime, 24/7. The pre-health listserv. So if you haven't yet, please join the pre-health listserv. Anything we send there will be directly from the pre-health office, the pre-health advising office, or something related to UF professional schools and programming. So we will send that through the pre-health listserv. The pre-health buzz will be for any outside opportunities. Say a College of Medicine wants to come and give a presentation, we would put that on the pre-health buzz. Your pre-health action plan. So besides joining a club or organization this semester and maybe one or two community service opportunities, I also challenge you after this meeting and in the next week to go ahead and create what's called your pre-health action plan. So first is going to be your model semester plans, which will be available on page 1. And utilizing the model semester plans we talked about earlier on the pre-health website, as well as the catalog or your major or college advisor to discuss all of your major and college advising questions. Page 1 is a great way to plan out your academics. Page 2 is going to be where you can start to jot down ideas for involvement and different ways that you can make yourself competitive for those holistic opportunities. And then also we have Beyond 120 courses related to pre-health for students in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences.
So just to kind of give you some final thoughts on this, I think first of all, you want to focus on the fact that your short-term goal is applying to the professional school of your choosing, and getting to know the details of that, your academic timeline, minimums for shadowing, volunteering, that kind of stuff, if they happen to have them. But your long-term goal, which is not necessarily exclusive of your short-term goal, is to become an excellent healthcare professional. And that's kind of where I go back to those competencies and really sort of understanding that what it takes to be a good healthcare professional is developing all of those and finding ways to develop those. So you don't want to think of it in terms of like, I need 2 dashes of shadowing and a cup of volunteering and a cup of research. That's not how you're going to get in. It's sort of developing that overall holistic who you are and who you want to be as a healthcare professional. You do have to use your undergraduate time wisely. You know, you're on a timeline to apply. If you use a growth year, or if you don't, you really only have 4 years of undergrad to kind of get this stuff in. So you do want to be making sure that you're making attempts to start it now. You don't have to do all of it now. I think that's also a point I want to stress is that while you only have 4 years, you actually do have 4 years, which is quite a significant amount of time. We stressed this several times. There's a lot more to medicine, to health, than just the science aspect of it. That said, it's very important. And we don't want you to overlook the science aspect of it. But that they go hand in hand. But ultimately, this is a journey to create an application that is going to give a very overall story of you. And it's kind of your decision today to kind of decide what you want that application to kind of say. And so one step at a time, you can kind of put this together pretty well and make yourself very competitive for the schools that you're looking to get into.
So before we get into our question and answer session, we would like to thank you for making time to attend our pre-health advising presentation. We hope you are able to take away some helpful tips and strategies as you continue in your pre-health undergraduate career. We have an incredible lineup for you this week. The UF College of Pharmacy will be presenting a live Zoom session tonight from 6:15 to 7:15. The UF Department of Occupational Therapy and the College of Vet Med will be presenting on Tuesday evening. On Wednesday evening, we have the College of Dentistry and Department of Physical Therapy presenting. And to close out the professional series, we will have the UF College of Medicine and UF School of Physician Assistant Studies presenting on Thursday. Zoom capacity is limited, so we will post recordings of each of these sessions following the event. As a final reminder, we are also hosting a virtual involvement fair throughout the week, so please check out our pre-health kickoff website to view pre-recorded informational videos from numerous student and community organizations to get involved with.
All right, guys, and at this time, I'm actually going to stop sharing the PowerPoint presentation so that we can jump in and start answering questions. So if you guys have any questions, I think we have about 10 or 15, about 13 more minutes together. So we will do our best as pre-health advisors to answer your questions. A quick caveat, please don't ask any super personal questions, okay? If you're interested in changing your major, you're failing a class, you have something going on that's sort of personal, this really isn't the platform to discuss that. I would really encourage you to sign in and speak with your college or major advisor this week to talk about classes. And then if you have any follow-up pre-health questions that are specific to you after this session that maybe you can't find on the website or weren't answered, feel free to log in and see a pre-health advisor. And again, that information is available on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now so that I can jump over to the chat. Okay, and it looks like Meredith has actually been answering, and Nick, some of these questions. So I'm going to look and see where we need to go to. Britt or Nick, do you kind of know where we are if you want to jump in and get the first one?
We have a couple at the top still that haven't been addressed, but
Okay.
I may have covered this a little bit. What are some good ways? What are good ways to get so many hours of volunteering? Starting early, realizing that 1,000 hours of volunteering or experience is essentially, I think that's a half year of a full-time job, right? So if you spread it out though, 10 hours a week, you can easily get that over 4 years. And that's a lot. 1,000 is not, it's common for some of the programs like PA, but that's a lot of volunteering for other programs. So, but if you start consistently and small, you can get the volunteering while you're an undergrad.
I will jump in and get the next one real quick. So I didn't see an answer for this one. It says, how do medical schools view dual enrollment credits? So anything you've taken for a letter grade should be fine. I usually recommend that if you've gotten, a C+ or B or better, you should be good to go. Even if you've gotten a C in a course, as long as you show an upward trend and do well in your science classes in the future at the university level, then you're totally fine. So I would say anything with a letter grade, you're good to go. Anything you've taken for AP IB ACE credit, just like Brittany mentioned earlier, you would want to think about either repeating it at UF for a letter grade or making sure that you really just understand that content for those professional tests and exams. Okay, guys? Nick answered.
Sorry to interject real quick, but you mentioned that it's fine to do dual enrollment classes so long as you do well in them, obviously. Okay, so I shouldn't be worried about them.
Yeah, no, as long as you did well in them, you should be totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I will jump in with the next one. I see, does virtual shadowing count as actual shadowing? The thing you want to be careful of with the virtual shadowing is that you do it with an accredited person or institution. So make sure that if you see telemedicine or these opportunities that are virtual, you just want to check into the background, make sure they are legitimately certified professionals in the field. You don't want to be partaking in an experience that's going to be frowned upon by professional schools. So just something to keep in mind, do your research, make sure they're credited.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm actually gonna jump into, Andre, it looks like you asked a few questions in the chat. Are there any research opportunities available this semester for students interested in psychiatry? There's a few places that I would look for that specifically. I would look through the UF College of Medicine. I would also look at NICAP, NICAP, and as well as the McKnight Brain Institute. They all deal with psychiatry and neuroscience specifically. Also, the UF Department of Psychology might have some cool things going on over there if you're interested, so check out those different ones. Also, will sports performance help applicants stand out? Absolutely. So if you play on a sports team, shows dedication, teamwork, right, skills, those different professional competencies we talked about. Your other questions about being a freshman with an AA and growth year planning and studying for the MCAT, I encourage you to sign in and speak with a pre-health advisor, just because I feel like those are kind of personal to you, and I feel like that would be more beneficial in a one-on-one conversation. And then it looks like Mariana is next. So it says, should we meet with the same advisor all 4 years? You should have a similar college or major advisor. Now that is, so some colleges do it different. For example, College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, you'll have a specific department or major advisor. For example, if you're Family Youth Community Sciences, you might meet with Cat Beatty Ivy all 4 years. If you're a liberal arts and sciences major and you have general advising questions, we actually have a dedicated team of advisors who's trained in all of the majors in liberal arts and sciences. And so if you meet an advisor and you really like them, you're always more than welcome to shoot them an email, maybe schedule an appointment in the future, or when you come in, you can try to request them. As well, I saw a few questions about who is our pre-health advisor. We don't have assigned pre-health advisors. So myself, Brittany, and Nick are actually on Zoom walk-ins Monday through Friday from 8 to about 11:30. First and second semester students do usually talk to general advisors. So we encourage you to talk to your college and major advisor first to plan out those academics or any questions you have about majors, dual degrees, how can I take a minor? All of that should be directed to your college or major advisor. And then also, if you're an honors student, you do have an assigned advisor, which I see Meredith over here shaking her head and waving. Your advisor, if you're an honors pre-health gator, is going to be Miss Meredith Beaupre.
And let me throw in, you still, even if you're in honors, you still have your college advisors. So if you need to process, that double major, we're going to talk about it, but you're going to still go to your college and get all your amazing college help. But yes, if you're honors and you're pre-health, I will help you from day one till you go off into your pre-health world.
I see a question. Will the Zoom meeting ID be the same for all of these? No. Each of the Zoom links for each professional Zoom presentation is going to be different. So you will find each of those Zoom links on our pre-health kickoff website, which was referenced in our presentation. And it's on our homepage, actually, right at the top. If you go to the UF Pre-Health Advising Office homepage, it's the first link right at the top.
Really quickly, I wanted to jump in and answer. I see a lot of questions about where can I find research, where can I find volunteering, where can I find community service, all for this semester. A couple places. So we actually, if you go to our advising.ufl.edu/pre-health page, just like Brittany S. just mentioned, up at the top, we have the pre-health kickoff page link. Click on that. We have a virtual involvement fair that started today. So we have some videos and some different clubs and organizations to get involved in there. The other place that we have posted all year round for Gainesville and surrounding communities opportunities is if you go to that same pre-health advising page, on the left-hand side, you'll see a menu. You click on the menu that says pre-health resources. It's the very bottom option. Once you click pre-health resources, scroll down that page, and on the bottom, you'll see a big section. We have leadership, research, volunteering, community service, clinical volunteering, literally anything you can think of. We have full pages of resources, so don't reinvent the wheel. Go to our pre-health resources page, check out those different pages, and it actually will link you. So if you're interested in the VA and you want to know how to volunteer there, it will link you to their website and how to find that information. So definitely go ahead and check out that pre-health resources page.
As far as research opportunities for people who aren't on campus this semester, it's going to be hit or miss depending upon where you want to do the research. I know some research labs are open right now, only to those that are accessible to the lab, but there also are virtual research opportunities, for example, being a contact tracer for COVID-19, doing the phone calls, gathering data, going through that. You can be part of those kind of teams as well. So be creative in where you're looking for those opportunities. But make sure once you are back on campus that you are seeking those out through the Center of Undergraduate Research or through departments or majors of interest.
Really quickly, I see the last question from Neil. It says, once we complete clinical, non-clinical volunteer hours, is there a system where we input these hours and get them signed off on so that medical schools or professional schools can see them? The answer to that is no. There's no specific place that you have to input them. What we recommend is starting a pre-health resume. So I would go ahead and start that right now. We actually do have an example of that on our pre-health website under forms and handouts. It says pre-health resume sample. Basically, the very top is your personal information. You should all know that. Name, school, what majors or minors you might be interested in, and then your objective. So to be a great pre-vet student, right, for right now. Beyond that, then anything you've done in research, clinical volunteering, shadowing, community service, you would enter that as you would a resume, but you would keep a resume for pre-health separate. So your pre-health related stuff, anything that you've done usually after you've graduated high school is what professional schools are going to be interested in. Unless, for example, you went to a vocational school and you got your CNA and have 500 hours, right? Or something big. You've won a nationwide award. You're on an Olympic sports team. Amazing, right? So something big like that, you would include in your pre-health resume. Anything else is going to be after you've graduated high school. Throughout undergrad at UF, that's what they're going to be interested in on your pre-health resume. You don't have to get it signed off on, but I do usually say to keep a contact person with a phone number so that if they want to reach out and confirm those hours. The other thing is if you've done a lot of hours with a specific organization and you don't get a letter of rec from them, sometimes that's a red flag. So make sure that you're keeping that professionalism and making great contacts with people now.
I'll handle the letter of rec question. I think it depends on what in general, I would say no, because it almost feels like the question is, you shadow somebody for a week and you want a letter of rec. I think when you ask for letter of rec writers, you want to have a well-developed relationship with that person so that they can say a lot more about you than just, hey, great kid, stood in the corner kind of thing. Ideally, when I would say you're shadowing, you want to keep that contact information of that person around, and you want to, as you build your network, we always talk about with networking, sort of like getting all these contacts, but we have to remember to maintain them and kind of update that person where we're at. A shadowing experience, maybe a semester, maybe multiple semesters, maybe back and forth for a year. I mean, it just depends, but I think when you're talking about asking for a letter of rec, you want to make sure you've developed the relationship with that person so that they're going to write a good letter of rec and not just, like I said, the equivalent in a classroom of took my class, got an A.
All right, everyone. So it's 5:59. We're going to go ahead and let you guys go so you can get a quick water break and be back by 6:15 for UF Pharmacy. Like I mentioned in the comments, I meet with students every single day that say, Miss Hoover, I'm between PA and pharmacy, or I'm between dentistry and medicine. The best way to get out there and explore is going to be through shadowing, clinical volunteering, or employment, see what they're doing every day, okay? And attending these info sessions so you can hear directly from the directors and advisors over in those UF professional schools, okay, guys? We'll be here for Zoom advising, meet with your college and major advisors, join a club or org, and let us know how we can help you along the way. But thank you guys for attending, and we hope you have a great day from the UF Pre-Health Advising Team. Go Gators. Nick, you can probably stop recording.